Hi everyone, welcome to another fantastic day of geometry concepts and skills. This is going to be Mr. Kramer here today, and let's take a look at what we got planned for you. Today is going to be looking at all about rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. So let's start first with a rhombus. What the heck is it? What you have to know about a rhombus, or this dude right there, is it is a parallelogram. It's going to share all of its properties. Just so everything you learn about a parallelogram is going to hold true for a rhombus. But its main component is it has four sides of awesomeness. And don't forget about that awesomeness. But the main thing here, four congruent sides. Each and every one of the sides of a rhombus are all the same. As you can see here, this is the same, and same. So what are some other properties that we want to look at for a rhombus? Well, the diagonals do bisect its opposite angles. So if this dude here at D was 80, the diagonal would split that into two little 40-degree pieces on those two other sides. The diagonals are also perpendicular, something that you definitely need to know, meaning that they're going to form 90-degree angles right there at the center. It's going to create four of them. So take a look and make sure that you're prepared for that. Then, again, the most important thing that I need to really emphasize here is that all the sides for a rhombus are congruent. Got to make sure that you have a clear understanding of that, because that is, again, the main property you need to take away from the rhombus. All right, well, let's take a look at some examples now. With number one here, what you have happening is these perpendicular lines from these diagonals here are creating 90-degree angles. With that being said, it also is creating 1, 2, 3, and 4 triangles. So if I want to solve this x guy right there, and I got a triangle right here, you're just going to add up all the angles that you see and set it equal to what a triangle is worth, or all the angles in a triangle are worth, and that's 180 degrees. So let's take care of that. I'm going to go x plus 65 plus 90. Again, don't forget about that 90. Again, equals 180. Add them up. X plus 155 then equals 180. Subtract 155 from that 180, 55, not 50, and x is going to equal then 25. For number two, it's a little bit more, not necessarily the same, but it still has some of the main principle here, and that is that these diagonals are creating perpendicular angles in the center, or they're creating 90-degree angles right there, and here, and here, and here. But what that's telling us is that 8x plus 2 equals 90. Subtract 2 from 90, then you're going to get 8x equals 88. Then we just divide, and x equals 11. Moving on to number 3 here. Got to find three things. Got to find x, got to find BC, and we're going to find the perimeter. This entire question number 3 is deriving from the main part of a rhombus, and that is that all the sides of a rhombus are congruent. So what that's telling me is this, that these two sets of numbers that we have right there, if they are part of a rhombus and they're talking about its sides, then those two things are going to be exactly the same. Well, what do we do with two things that are the same? Well, you set them equal, as you know, guys. So then we got 6x plus 20. We're again set that equal to 10x plus 12. Then let's just solve. Subtract 6 from 10. You're going to get then 20 equals 4x plus 12. Then subtract 12 from 20. You're going to get 8 equals 4x divided by 4. And x is going to equal that brilliant number that is known as 2. That's your first step. So now we found x. Well, what about BC? Well, here's what I know. Each and every one of the sides for this rhombus are exactly the same, right? Right, I know. I'm glad you guys are paying attention. You're then going to take this 2 and you're going to supplement it into one of the two patterns that there. You're going to put in one of those number systems that you have right there, because whatever number you're going to get out of those, it's going to remain true here, here, which also means here and here. So let's take a further look at this. I'm going to take this 2 again, like I said, and I'm going to plug it into one of the two. I'm going to plug into one that I think is the easiest, which is this 10x plus 12. So that's what I'm going to here. I'm going to have 10, then times 2 plus 12. This is what I'm going to do in order to get BC. Well, 10 times 2 is 20, plus then 12 is then going to get me 32. Well, if this dude here is 32, it means that this here is 32, this guy here is 32, and it means that BC here is also 32. I know, it's pretty cray. Well, that means then, if BC is 32, then I can be able to find the perimeter. Like I have them already out here, 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 and here, all I need to do for perimeter is add up all the 4 sides. I'm going to add 32 with 32 with 32 with 32. Or you can simply, for perimeter, if all the sides are the same, take one of those side lengths and multiply it by the number of congruent sides, or in this case, 4. So then 32 times 4 is going to be 128. So your perimeter is going to equal 128 for this particular rhombus. All right, let's move on to the next guy that we have here, or the rectangle. The rectangle is a pretty famous piece of geometry, as you probably all know. Y'all know pretty much if I gave you a rectangle, you could probably point it out. The thing is we have to know what are the main properties here for a rectangle. We all know what they look like. However, a rectangle is important, or its special ability is that it has 4 right angles of greatness. That is essentially its mutant power, or its superpower. Well, it also has a few other things that we have to take a look at as well. First, all the parallelogram rules also apply to a rectangle, just like it did for the rhombus. The diagonals are also congruent this time. That means that each and every one of these pieces right there is exactly the same. So let's say that this dude here was 6. Well, then the rest of them here are 6 here as well. Also, again, the main property, the 4 right angles. You can't forget that. The 4 right angles is extremely crucial to you doing well with rectangles. Now let's take a look at some of our examples here. This first one here, what it's saying is this. From here to here is 4x plus 5, which also means then that this guy, again, is 4x plus 5 because the diagonals are congruent. Well, if this dude here is 50, then what I can conclude is that 4x plus 5 plus 4x plus 5 equals 50. Or ultimately, it's 8x plus 10 equals 50. How do you get x by itself then? Like usual, subtract 10. Subtract 10 from 50, get 8x equals 40. Divide, and x equals 5. Cool. Number 2 then. Got to find x first. In order to find x first, I'm going to take a look to the main property of a rectangle, and that is the 90-degree angles in each and every corner. So what that means here is that 5x plus 35 equals 90. This is what we're going to do to get x. Then I'm going to subtract 35 from 90, get 5x equals 55, and then when I divide, x will equal 11. Now we got to find BC. Well, that's pretty easy. I'm just going to take that 11, plug it in there for x, and whammo, I'll get what BC is. So it's going to be 3 then times 11 plus 13, or 33 plus 13, which is 46. So that's what you got there for BC. All right, after that magical adventure through rectangle land, we're then going to hit the granddaddy of them all, the square. He be the boss. He's the big papa here. He is the king. He is the stud muffin. Why? Because he shares all the properties of the last 2 figures that we looked at, and even parallelograms. He's got 4 congruent sides, like the rhombus. So he's awesome like the rhombus. And though, he also has those properties of a rectangle where they have 4 right angles at each and every one of the corners. So he is both awesome and great. I wish I could be like a square. With that being said, though, let's kind of take a look at all the different properties of the square. First, like I said, all parallelogram rules are true. All rhombus rules are true, and all rectangle rules are true. With their powers combined, they form no, they just form the square, which is definitely cooler than Captain Planet. Also, to take very good note, this right here is all the diagonals and all of the angles, everything for a square. It will always be like that, always. So anytime you're looking at a square, all of its angles, all of the diagonals will look exactly like what you see on this magical figure here. So you definitely want to keep that handy for yourself. All right, let's solve this last one, and then it's time for you to play. First, x. Well, it's got that property of a rectangle, so I'm going to know that that's 90 degrees. So I'm going to go, okay, 11x plus 13 equals 90. Again, this is going to be taking the form of the rectangle properties. I'm going to subtract 13 then from 90. Get myself 77. So then 11x is going to equal 77. Divide. And x equals 7. Now to get BC, kind of done this before, take that x, plug it in there for that 2x plus 4. So for BC here, I'm going to have 2 times 7 plus 4. 2 times 7 is 14, then plus 4 equals 18. So one side length then equals 18. Well, since the square holds the properties of a rectangle and a square, if that's 18, this is 18, this is 18, and this is 18. Or again, we can say for congruent sides, we can say 18 times that by 4, and you're going to get a perimeter of 72 for this square. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, this whole next page, this is all your turn. I want you to complete these problems of greatness and wonder to help out with your education. So please make sure you get those done, and we will see you next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.